Hi, I'm Chris from GetintheMix. We're here today at BPM 2015 and we're here over on the Native Instruments stand. And we're here with Cedric from Native Instruments, who's going to show you a little bit more on the S5.
Hello, right, okay, so on the S5, basically it's a smaller version of the S8, more affordable, but big differences are simply that it's a much smaller format and there's no essential inputs at the back except for the microphone one. So right. It's not a DVS compatible controller the way the S8 is, but again it's much more road ready because it's a lot easier to kind of carry around. At the same time, we still carry a lot of this new stems functionality that we've got. So, for example, on my deck here, I've got a stem track loaded. When I go to the remix button here, it now shows me the two rows of pads. The first row, I essentially quick mute. So if I click the pad first here, I'll mute the drums, as it tells me here, to mute the bass and bring them right back in. So this is the simplest way to kind of get stems working on the trunk. We found that most people, when they're using stems, really what they do is drum replacement. So for example, so quickly jumping from one to the next, etc. So this is very easy to kind of cut stuff in and out. Yeah. But we still have full lookup functionality as well, and we can control the volume of each stem independently. So if I press one of the lower row pads here, for example the first one, I'm essentially selecting the drum track here. And using the browse knob here, I can adjust the volume of that specific track. If I want to do multiple tracks, I can select multiple ones, and then again, adjust the volumes. If I want to do filter, same thing, I can press and select my track, my stem, and then adjust the filter right here. It'll automatically come on if I want to, and I can also press it down to get out of it and in and out. So really quite easy to do. Not necessarily as instant as on the S8, or you've got the faders to do all of that. But at the same time, it's not much more difficult, and you can still adjust stems exactly as they're meant to be. Yeah. Other little functionality that's slightly different from the S8. Obviously, we don't have an effects select button, but we can still choose and load effects by pressing Shift and then directly on the effects button. And then using the browser, I can select which effect I'm going to load.
Exactly which one you want.
Exactly, and get that ready. I can also obviously change how the effects are set up as well, just like we can do on the S8, but just using a shift functionality. So again, like on most of our products sort of thing, as you kind of go down to the smaller version, there's maybe one or two more shift or kind of click buttons to kind of get to the feature, but the feature is still there.
Yeah, the shift has made a big change with NI in the last couple of controllers, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We tried not to overly rely on it and only use it when it makes sense. So, you know, shift and this makes sense. It's sort of what you want. If you either using an effect or something related to an effect, it makes sense to do that. And again, the same thing. We didn't want to do a sort of shift click that, so it made really much sense to kind of use those pads kind of quickly. It still means I can still do my looping at any one time, etc. And I can still go to my cues. It's all available. It's just that we're using the stream set functions to get to those.
Yeah, and the whole functionality of this, it must make, you know, obviously what people are doing with stems is really just the cutting of the track, isn't it? Absolutely. You know, the playing with the volumes is secondary really to the cut.
I mean, where stuff is really funny is like when you take a drum and bass track and then a hip hop track on the other deck, so you know, just about sort of double tempo, and then you get rid of your drum and bass kind of drums and just replace it with the hip hop stuff. You create a half kind of break.
Yeah, completely.
And it's just brilliant. And get that right back in. This is what I think most people are going to be using. But at the same time, if you want to do sort of very progressive, maybe like a deep house progressive sort of mix, you can still kind of do it sort of very slowly and very intuitively, and it still works the same, so it's not a problem. Or you can obviously do the simpler way. You know, maybe you want to just introduce the synth for that track, so you mute the other tracks, bring in it very slowly, and then, you know, start putting in the vocals in and then up, put it all up to date. So, you know, it's all about kind of finding the right workflow, how you're going to be using this and how you're going to mix it together, but the functionality is there.
Fantastic. And how stems now working with the Traktor controller functions? Obviously we've seen the D2 and the S8 and how they're laid out. Obviously the F1 is slightly different. Yeah, still a great controller, I know that.
But that's the thing, it's got a new lease on life, obviously, because it was a great controller for remix sets as well, but now it's basically doubled in functionality, because now I can control the stem. So if I play my stems here already, you can see, because we don't have any display obviously on the F1, it's harder to kind of see the stems, but we use the pads as a VU meter essentially to kind of tell you sort of what relative levels they're playing at. Also, when I use the fader to cut down the volume on that track, I can still see it play sort of very dimly lit. I know that something is still playing here. It might be a bit hard to see on camera because it's the bright lights of BPM, but the idea is that we just dim them so you know that something's happening behind those, so if you bring it back up, you can see it. But obviously, stems is like any other track. If you know your tracks, you'll mix better.
Yeah, of course.
That's how it works. But on top of that, obviously, we've got a filter control, so we can easily kind of filter stuff in and out with high pass and low pass. We've also got this effects send, so I can say, well, specifically, I only want that vocal track at the end to be sent to my effects unit. So, you know, put a bit of reverb and delay on that. The vocals sound really nice, but the kicks and the basses will still be clean as they should be, kind of thing. And obviously, I can decide to bring them back up. So we got all this kind of additional function. We also got an extra layer of functionality to DF1 that works with the remix decks as well. It's worth knowing. If I press Shift and browse and get into this MIDI mode, we've got this hot Q layer for 2 decks basically. So this works with deck A and B or C and D. So here I can quickly launch new specific hot Qs and create ones. And I've also got, if I press capture, a looping layer. So maybe you'll see it better on screen. I can sort of, actually I'm not controlling the same deck, but basically I can start a loop, increase the loop size and decrease the loop size by using these buttons. And then obviously quickly get back to the deck as well that I was controlling. So a lot of extra stuff to play with in something that a lot of people already have, basically. Yeah. So if you've got an F1, get playing with stems right away.
Yeah, stems. Yeah, exactly. So when's the official release date for the S5?
It's the 1st of October, so it's not long now. We were lucky enough to be able to announce it just before BPM to be able to get it here for the first few kind of hands-on sort of thing. But yeah, 1st of October, I think it's 579 RRP in the UK. Yeah. So quite a bit less than the S8, but yeah, and it comes obviously with Traktor Pro 2, ready to go.
Yeah, it's a great replacement. Well, sort of for the S4, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the S4 is still a relevant product. The S2 is still a relevant product. We understand that there's a lot of DJs who prefer jog wheels, so these ones still exist and we'll still sell them, absolutely. But the S5 is simply for people who, I mean, even maybe people who already have their own kind of turntables, or maybe they've got MIDI controllers of every kind to control the jog wheels, so they can add this to the setup. But really it's for people that kind of want to start using Traktor in the way we're sort of pushing it, and that's sort of like, you know, you got your overall type of control as opposed to individual ones. So now it's all about controlling the whole set in one go as opposed to individual tracks. So I can have it slowly increase and get, you know, a synced set, but it's still kind of fully under my control at any time, etc. I also still have obviously individual control of the BPM, so maybe this specific track I'm not synced up, I can still press this in and then control the BPM manually, and with the shift function that make my really big jumps into it, and obviously nudge my track in and out using the touch strip, so I can still manually bit match with it, absolutely. I can also control the key as well if I need to change the key for whatever reason, maybe it's not quite right. I've also got all these controls right there. So same controls you get on the M2 and the S8, just a few less buttons, basically.
Yeah. No, it's still got the functionality though, isn't it? Yeah. Without a doubt. Okay, Cedric, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Lovely.
Cheers.
So you all heard that, and you can get it on GetintheMix.com.